Young ladies and gentlemen, good evening once again. Good evening to all of you. Once again, you are welcome here on the Evade the Consciences platform. In international news, things are not going well between China and Germany. What China has just done to Germany, in other words, China is remaining silent. Yes, China doesn't talk much, but China takes action. When China acts, no. It's being talked about everywhere. Right now, as we speak, is the top story in international news. All the countries in the world are talking about it. China made a bold move on a ship now, on a German plane. Yes, and China used lasers. When we talk about lasers, you need to understand this. This is high technology, modern technology. China put pressure on a plane. The Chinese ship, with its imposing presence, exerted significant pressure on the German military plane, effectively forcing it to alter its trajectory and ultimately compelling it to turn back to reverse its course completely. Yes. And where did this happen? In the Red Sea. Remember this name well. The Red Sea, right now, is the hotspot of tension. Yes. It has become the biggest international hotspot right now. It's over there. What's the cause? What's happening in Gaza? What Israel is doing, Gaza, Lebanon, and others. Yemen has risen up. They are outraged. The Houthis in Yemen are outraged. They have imposed a blockade in the Red Sea. No passage for ships linked to Israel. No. But while Yemen and its allies, those we call the axis of resistance against Israel, are demanding that Israel withdraw its troops from Gaza and that humanitarian aid be delivered to Gaza because there are human beings there. That's what they're asking for. Meanwhile, the UN, the European Union, are condemning the actions, the attacks that are being carried out by, how should we call this? The Houthis in the Red Sea. So there are surveillance missions from Israel's allies who are sending monitoring missions to the Red Sea to keep an eye on the Houthis to prevent them from continuing to carry out actions that are labeled as acts of terrorism. And it was one of these missions that was there on surveillance. A German plane. Ladies and gentlemen, let's dive deeper to see exactly what's going on. But before we continue, go to the Play Store or Apple Store. Yes, get this. All right? Don't forget to hit like. Share the video conference as much as possible. Give lots and lots of likes. And always remember to leave your various opinions in the comments. This situation is taking a different turn. It's taking a new direction. Iran's allies, that is, the other bloc the world, today is divided into two major blocks. I'm telling you, this has nothing to do with religion anymore. This is a matter of blocks. We have the global South bloc. They stick to their own line. If you harm one of theirs, in any case, they're against you. The bloc of the decadent West, they have their own bloc to support their members under any circumstances. So it's a matter of blocks. The world has become bipolar, but this bipolarization has intensified recently with the establishment of the BRICS, this global South bloc made up of Russia, China, and so on. And this is only making tensions worse. Those who frame the issue in religious terms or whatever, that's your problem. But this is a matter of blocks. On one side, they defend international law, humanitarian law. On the other side, I don't know. I don't understand what they're trying to defend, but I'll manage to understand thanks to your comments and your explanations. I'll get it. It's intense. So there's a renewed tension between Beijing and Berlin. A plane, according to official information, a German military aircraft on a mission in the Red Sea to protect maritime traffic against Houthi attacks, was targeted by a Chinese laser. This is what the German Foreign Ministry denounced on Tuesday. Yes, on Tuesday, the 8th of July, 2025, the German Foreign Ministry denounced this. They even formally summoned the Chinese ambassador to Germany in a diplomatic move. He was summoned. Why is China doing this? Why? But China, that's something else entirely. The guy comes to monitor the Houthis in Yemen, and you two, you're watching them, you're pushing them to turn against him. That means it's direct support for the Houthis in Yemen, because the Houthis in Yemen are strongly backed by Iran. And Iran, in turn, is strongly supported by China and Russia. So you understand the situation, Jose. Yes, let's go deeper. This is the Africa of sovereignty. I feel very proud, yes, to wear this. The structure that will replace Amazon, I have that confidence. I have that unwavering faith. All Africans, go ahead and download it. Yes, let's go deeper. So, what happened? Well, the crew of the military aircraft was put in danger. So, the ministry specified on X that endangering German personnel and disrupting the mission are completely unacceptable. The German plane was targeted without reason or prior contact by a Chinese warship during a routine surveillance flight. Here's what a spokesperson for the German Ministry of Defense specified. So it was a Chinese warship that targeted the aircraft in the air with a laser, but they didn't provide any details. What kind of laser was it? In any case, it is said that by using the laser, the Chinese ship risked endangering personnel, putting people and equipment at risk. The German Ministry of Defense did not specify whether the device used was a laser weapon or a laser guidance system. The aircraft aborted its mission. Following this incident, the aircraft turned back gently. It returned smoothly to its base in Djibouti, according to the German Ministry of Defense. The aircraft turned back. What does that mean? Does that mean that China is in the process of banning surveillance missions in the Red Sea? Question mark. Does that mean that Germany was afraid, that the German military was afraid of the strike capability of the Chinese warship? Question mark. What does Germany plan to do after summoning the Chinese ambassador? What does China plan to do? And what was the Chinese warship doing in the Red Sea? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you that this matter is starting to take a different turn. For a very long time, countries like China and Russia had not gotten involved or too involved in this Gaza affair. They had limited themselves to simple statements and condemnations. But seeing such an action is rare. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that was the top story in international news. So please share it as much as possible. I'll be back with more news shortly. This was the voice of your one and only Samurai.